Okay. And now equally cool is going to be Gail Wight coming up from Stanford to talk to us about mold and other coolness.
Thank you very much for the invitation to be here today. This is already great fun. Thanks to the audience for being inside with us on this gorgeous day. And Ryan and Trevor, that was amazing. That was really incredible. I'm now very embarrassed to show you any of my work in case my nose appears in it and I had no idea. So, and it's a very humbling task to be asked to talk about one's work in the context of David Hockney's formidable career. So if I offend in any way, please forgive me. It's moving. It is moving. Okay. I first saw David Hockney's collages in New York, his photo collages in the 80s when I was an art student studying sculpture. And I was just starting to get interested in computers and video. And I didn't read Lawrence Weschler's writing about these collages until many, many years later. So the sort of breakthroughs that Hockney was having with perception were completely lost on me at the time. But what did really stand out to me was that he was defying the two-dimensionality of a picture plane. And I'm sure this was because I was a sculpture student. It just struck me that they were very sculptural. You could have this very three-dimensional, in-the-round experience with these. I thought that was fairly phenomenal. And as a young artist who was just starting to delve into the four dimensions, it was incredibly inspiring. Weschler writes about Hockney's goals, this sort of desire to give us this shift in experiential perception, giving us the world as we actually experience it. And he notes this need to break free from impinging orthodoxies. And that phrase, that breaking free from impinging orthodoxies, really resonates with me. For me, what this has meant, particularly over the last few years, is sort of breaking free of the orthodoxy of a human-centric perception. We are, at any moment, any point in the day, anywhere we are, proximate to millions and millions of other creatures that are cohabiting with us, inside, outside, everywhere. And to me, that's really phenomenal. I just want a glimpse into that proximate world. There's this analogy where you stretch out your two arms, and this is the full history of the planet. And somewhere out here on the tip of a finger is all of human history. If you clip away a fingernail, you've eliminated all of human history. And if you just shave a little filing off of that nail, you've eliminated all of written human history. This is supposed to be a very humbling concept, and it is. It's very humbling, but it fills me with this audacity to kind of want to look back up that arm and see the past in some way and kind of experience it. And also in this sort of Stephen Jay Gould way of thinking, look out at all the other fingertips and see what else made it this far with me and kind of understand the world from their perception. There are all kinds of ways of experiencing the world that are utterly foreign to us, and all these perceptual systems with all their attendants, ins and outs, and processing in between that I really just want to kind of glimpse into. So the first work that I want to talk about is this. It's called Stomach. I had a residency in 2009 in Australia in a medical facility. And what I did there was I built an artificial stomach with all of the chemistry that goes into an artificial stomach. And then I kind of staged an emotional event. I really wanted to see what emotion looks like from the stomach's point of view. And I'll tell you that there's a soundtrack that goes along with this that I turned off for today because it accentuates that emotional state. It's Darby Crash from the Germs singing Sugar, Sugar at a very, very slow speed as the stomach might hear it. But it's a little rattling to me still, so I can't hear it and talk at the same time. Why do this? There are gazillions of things living, that might be an exaggeration, millions of things living in our stomachs. They cohabitate with us. And there's a lot of research out there that says that these things in our stomachs might actually shape our brains. They certainly affect our emotions. They are at least as responsible as our brains for the kind of psychic state that we're experiencing at any time. I'm going to let this run for just a little bit longer. This is just a tiny snippet of a 12-minute long piece. Okay, enough of that. Normally, though, I look outside myself, again, trying to break free of this human-centric orthodoxy and look out at the living world around me. And it could be as simple as something underfoot. This piece, underfoot and overlooked. So this piece is a short excerpt from a 2-hour-long piece. It's comprised of 100 photographs of a stone footpath that kind of meanders through a farm in Italy's Piemonte. They are lichen that have been growing for hundreds of years, again, literally underfoot, making these gorgeous sort of compositions. And what I was trying to do with this work was evoke the lichen's time scale, its experiential pacing of its life. It is an impossibility. A lot of these things are really impossibilities, but it's just trying to get at a little bit of that essence to try to experience looking back up that arm or looking over at one of those fingertips. In Center of Gravity, what I wanted to do is pull viewers underground, and this might relate to Hockney's construction of timescapes. These are all photographs that are constructed. They're photographs I've taken over the years of landscapes that I've spent some time in. They're usually special to me in some way. A lot of them are very fragile. And then I've collaged those photographs together and rolled them into these tubes to reference core samples. And then they're in the dark, and you can kind of walk through them. And hopefully this gives you the experience of sort of having your present moved into the past. So you are underground now, walking through our present moment kind of experience. I cannot tape this very well because it's in the dark. So I apologize for the murky footage, but hopefully it gives you a little bit of the sense of walking through these, what are very bright in your experience, core samples of what are obviously present moments. If you look at the photographs, you can make out a bird's nest or a harbor seal or a coastline. And it's just trying to give you this sense that all of this will be part of the fossil record eventually. Okay, this is slime mold. Love slime mold. This is slime mold out in the woods. This is it escaping in my studio. It's really not a well-behaved organism. And this is slime mold at 30 times and 100 times magnification. It is a plasmodium. It's a very, very super simple organism, but it exhibits this surprising kind of intelligence. You can put oatmeal 3 inches away, and it knows it's there and kind of beelines for it. There are people that have used it to try to create more efficient Tokyo subway systems and things like that, because it really is very efficient in its intelligence of knowing what's out there in its environment, and we don't really understand how it perceives those things. I've made a number of works with slime mold. I really find it extraordinary, but mostly I find it just exquisitely beautiful. So this work, Hydrophilia, Love of the Nine-Headed Monster, is simply an ode to this kind of this extraordinary beauty and this really unique creature. For me, it was a moment to recognize that proximate nature of our worlds and the resonance between our two worlds, which really are, when you come down to it, one world. Now, I'm in some weird state here that I didn't expect to be in. And over there, what I wanted to do was sort of fast forward through this, because again, this is about a 12-minute piece, and I think this is only a 3-minute clip, but I guess what I will do instead is, I'm just going to let this roll for a minute. Pardon? You can let us look at it. Yeah, I shall do that. I'll let you look at it for a moment.
It's also interesting that you're using 9 videos the same way that David Hockney does with some of those squares downstairs.
Yeah, this started out as a 3-panel video, kind of riffing off triptychs that have existed for ages, and then it just wasn't enough. There's something about slime mold that really goes off in all directions at once that I wanted to celebrate in this. It doesn't contain itself to a linear existence, which is much of the way that we live, in this sort of linear and planar way, or at least how we perceive. Oh, there's my, thanks. Thanks, Magic Booth. So.
By the way, thank you, Magic Booth.
Yes. Okay, so, oops, there, okay. So I'm just gonna fast forward through that a little bit. and you get a sense of it. And this is, it's already, actually 3 minutes of this is about 3 hours of footage. So I spent a hellish summer, you know, at 8 a.m., 11, 2, 5, 8, 11, go to bed. And then, you know, I'd put the camera one place and the slime mold would go the other direction. And that meant that I would have to get up at 2 a.m. and check on it, and 5 a.m. It was a pretty sleepless and exhausting summer. The last piece I want to talk about, and this, this piece actually, to do another experiment, every now and then it looks like you're getting this abrupt jump that looks a little bit like digital artifacting, but if you hold your hands and cover up all but one of the squares, or you'd kind of have to get just a line of it, you'll see that the color is actually very continuous. What I wanted to do here was to take Joseph Alber's color studies, and he was trying to get us to think about color in context. Take that and see if I could use his structures to go into the outdoor world and see our natural world in context, and if it would make me see anything I hadn't seen before. So yes, it did. That color shifting in the sky was really kind of a surprise for me. These experiments are still at their beginning. And this one, there's also color shifting that I hadn't expected just from clouds passing overhead, but I began to see texture very different. And again, these are very short excerpts from much longer pieces here. And then I think it was this one, I was shooting in this tide pool close up. I realized that what I was actually doing was I was videotaping the wind, and I was seeing the wind in a way that I hadn't really seen the wind before. In a lot of ways, another thing that these videos do for me is they are another way for me to break out of those sort of orthodoxies using what's actually kind of this highly structural system that Albers came up with. And right now I've delved into the interaction of color, which has all these other kind of circles and fields and that kind of thing. And things are kind of emerging out of those experiments for me. I had never seen Hockney's recent 9 and 18 panel videos until this exhibition. So you could imagine why I might be excited about this. I want to just end here with this quote that I found in an essay that Lawrence had written. It's a quote from David Hockney, and he says, the big pictures had come of the big beautiful world with no edges. We're not mathematical points, we're a dimension, the fifth. I really love that. So thank you.